Call the meeting to order at 7 o'clock. Ron is away on vacation today, so I'm gonna jot down some notes and hopefully turn that into
Would
minutes.
you like me to also
Yeah, you
type?
can, yeah,
But
you can send it to him, maybe we'll have, between the two of us, we'll
I think we can
That's
together,
partly
united,
accurate minutes, yeah.
united, we will get this noted.
Roll call, Chris? Chuck?
Here.
Jeff?
Here.
Greg?
Yeah.
Dennis? Sarah?
Here.
Megan?
Here.
Rich Hussenberg, me. Sean is not here. We have a quorum. Public correspondence, comments, anything?
Pledge.
Oh, I'm sorry. Trying to juggle too much. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now, public correspondence.
We have no new correspondence.
Okay.
Nobody writes.
Approval of meeting minutes from June 26, 2025. Do we have a motion?
I'll move to accept the minutes.
Okay. Second?
Second.
Dennis? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous. Okay, I have a number of items to deal with today. I'd like to add a couple to the report section. One of them, which Lynn is gonna be doing something on solar and town council report. If that is all right with everyone? Thank you. Parking lease for Norton, Dr. Silva.
Sure, I just distributed a draft contract between us and the Cheshire YMCA. If you recall, we had a lot of discussion about when the building is leveled, what are we gonna do about parking in the fall of '26? And subsequently, the YMCA has purchased St. Thomas Becket Church across the street from Norton School on Brooksvale. And we're amenable to entering into an agreement with us about securing parking for the fall months when we move into the building. Ben and I did some research and worked with Jeff D'Onofrio to draft a contract. That's what we have before you. So in essence, the highlights are literally highlighted on the contract that we would have access Monday through Friday, 6 to 10 p.m., 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. for 90 parking spaces at a cost of $1,200 per month. It will commence on August 1st, 26 and terminate December 31st, 26. So that's the plan. We feel really good about it. Obviously, this is much easier and less expensive than the alternatives that we were, if you recall, we were talking about doing some sort of shuttle bus or the worst case, maybe, kind of who you ask, maybe laying down crushed stone, doing a temporary lot with lighting and everything. So this is really a nice break for us.
Do they have 90 spaces?
Yeah,
Okay.
the church across the street, yeah, there's a lot of parking.
It goes really far back. It's like a
Yeah.
really skinny lot.
Just
You
how
mentioned
much
lighting,
is
is there
space?
lighting on there?
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's lighting over there. I know, I think there's lights in the grass pointing toward the,
Andrew and I said yes.
yes. I appreciate you phoning a friend.
Could you
uh,
put that in the minutes, please?
Stated
As
yes,
verified by
like,
the
We have an
select
expert opinion.
as verified by Cheshire Public Schools and the town of Cheshire.
I appreciate you leaving the names out. But yeah, so this is the agreement.
Discussion?
I have a question. The time, the Monday through Friday, 6 to 10 is highlighted, but then there's the 5C, it said you can use it for weekends. Does that have to cover like anything that's at the school, or why is it separate, I guess?
Yeah, that was something that Jeff added in there, and I think just to provide the flexibility. Frankly, we don't have a lot of weekend events for our
I wasn't thinking necessarily for the school, but like, doesn't like the basketball, for example, uses that gym, like the town basketball uses that gym beginning, I believe it's in December. So that would be in that same time frame, no?
Yeah, you know what, and Chuck,
And then I think there's Boy Scouts and stuff.
with a new building, you know, we might be more inclined to get more use. But I think we were trying to direct a lot of that to Barnum at the north end. But, yeah, I mean, I can talk, Mark has been, and Doug, at the Y in Cheshire, have been very open to flexibility, and they're comfortable with this.
Yeah, I mean, it has
it's,
8 to 5, I just
Yeah.
didn't know if there was like a reason why it was so.
Yeah, I'm not sure that, I think the marquee use would be Monday through Friday, but I understand your point, and this is what Jeff had drafted up. I didn't ask him why he carved that out. It's a separate item.
The fact that we'll be taking down the old building and doing a lot of work there, maybe we, as you say, direct after-school activities elsewhere for that.
Yeah, I think,
2026.
yeah, on weekends, I'm not sure what access to the property will actually look like from across the street, with the parking lot being built there. I think we're gonna have to play it by ear. It seems like, you know, per your point, we have the right to use it. I don't know, to Rich's point, if it would be great to have people in and out of the building as we're kind
Just
of
might be a
doing
thing to
what
like
we're doing.
communicate to the Parks and Rec or something.
Yeah.
Or-
Yeah,
Well, we do
they
control
do
their
that through us,
access
but,
to that building. So
Yeah.
if we decide, you know, we're not gonna open the building up until everything is done, parking lots completed, the new driveways are in, we could do that.
That makes sense.
I would just wanna make sure they could safely traverse the space between the church and the Y and the entry to the school. They're gonna have, obviously there'll be access, but without any of our people there, I just wanna make sure we're okay.
Then the other question was with the school, like, the school closing next year is earlier, so is August 1st, early enough, I guess, for that parking? Is there anything that would be there in June, July?
I don't think so, I mean, we would have maybe some staff there, but very limited.
Yeah, teachers aren't scheduled to return until the fourth week in August, I believe.
Yeah, it would be late, and I know we'll have people there before that, but I think this is really en masse parking. There would be some limited parking available on site, but,
And the final thing is contractor parking, you guys would have it inside the gate on the other side?
Correct. All our parking will be inside of our gated area.
Yeah.
And in June, July, there's still the parking available in front of the old middle school. We're not gonna start taking that down.
well,
Thought we were
July,
starting taking it
so
down
end
the
of
day after
June.
school.
No,
Yeah, we'll be
that's-
taking it down right away,
Yeah, you're right.
so. yeah,
As fast as you can get out of that building.
Exactly, I had a vision of a wrecking ball behind the bus.
So there you go, there you go.
Yeah.
Other comments or questions?
Oh, I had a question.
Yeah.
How much, it says we have to carry insurance, is that a lot of money?
Yeah, we have insurance.
Okay, so it's already, great.
And do we have a motion to approve the agreement as presented?
Just curious, who, this is, where it says Cheshire's paying, it's coming out of the next generation
Yeah,
building committee budget, correct?
yeah.
It was part of our building process. We would have had to pay in other ways.
I understand all that, I just
Yeah.
want, reading
Clarification.
this, it says Cheshire, so, Cheshire pays for everything.
Dennis, you
So
make a
moved.
motion?
Sure.
And a second? Chris? All those in favor? Opposed? And it's unanimous. Okay, town council report. Greg?
Okay, I gave the status of construction and site preparation. And then Andrew projected a drone flyover of both schools. and I circulated the preliminary fixtures and furnishings, and they seemed suitably impressed. Questions came from the council, pretty much questions we had addressed at our last meeting. One followed up on the Facebook post regarding construction vehicles transitioning from Sharon Drive entrance to North Brooksville entrance during the summer. I said I was aware of the post, but that was not in our plans, and they were fine with that. And then the other question was whether we had considered the email to transition to all native plantings. I said we considered it, but we're sticking to our current plan that was run by the Town Beautification Committee and approved by Planning and Zoning, and they were fine with that. Then we were asked that when the school opens, Norton School opens, whether Sharon Drive entrance will be used by buses when the new school opens. Vince gave a very comprehensive answer that the buses will enter via North Brooksville, and that Sharon Drive is only going to be for walkers and emergency vehicles. And as I was closing, council said, as long as we keep saying we're on time and under budget, we're welcome at their meeting.
And they are always very appreciative of the work of this committee. Thank you, Greg. Just a clarification, when we're in that in-between period, when we're taking down Norton School, are the buses going to only come in through North Brooksville?
Yes.
Okay, so there will never be a time where buses are going out onto Sharon Drive?
As of right now, yes, that is correct.
Okay.
I would never say never because, unforeseen conditions could arise. But as of right now, the plan that has been developed with ONG, Arcadis, and Tecton is for everything to come in off North Brooksville and to exit onto North Brooksville as well.
So we'll have that cleared enough over the summer so that when school starts? we'll be
Yes.
good. Okay.
Yes. By the time we get to next summer, we'll know for sure 100%.
Okay. All right, thank you. Continuing with reports. Ben?
Thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm presenting tonight an opportunity, and I'm not asking for any money, just to get out in front of this. And this is something that's come up very, very quickly, and it's an opportunity to potentially add solar onto the new schools at no cost to the project. We've been working, and I'm going to try and keep this brief, because all I'm looking for is consensus tonight, and while it won't cost us any money, it may certainly cost time from the professionals to figure out, can we make this happen? We've been working on an energy performance contract for the town and school buildings for over a year. If you're not familiar, just basically an energy performance contract allows the town or school buildings to be upgraded, and the energy costs or the energy savings pays for the cost of the infrastructure upgrades. So we've got a series of upgrades that we're looking to do all across town and school buildings, upgrade boilers, add solar, add fuel cells. What's come up just very recently is with the passage of the One Beautiful Bill Act,
Yeah.
the incentives for solar will be sunset pretty quickly. We plan to move rapidly on a number of solar projects, and we threw the two new schools into the mix to see if we can make it work. So what I'm going to do is just walk you through very quickly. This is a presentation which you have a copy of we made to the town council last night. We are working with Johnson Controls as the energy performance contractor. We're represented by Energia as the owner's rep in this project. The specific scope of work we're trying to expedite to get ahead of the available incentives are fuel cells, which has nothing to do with the new building at Cheshire High School and the Water Pollution Control Authority. We want to do roof mount solar at the high school, Highland, Dodd, Doolittle, and you can see these two are the new schools, Barnum and Norton. And then adding a solar carport at Highland School is one of the items that we're looking at. Justin, if you could just move to the next slide. And this is really the key slide that I wanted to focus on. If you look at these lines where it says Barnum and Norton, what we're talking about is solar on the roofs. The total cost of installing that solar would be about 1.9 million for each building. If we move and can make this all work, we would get about $950,000 through the school construction grant. And this is what we would lose if we can't move quickly enough. This IRA benefits of the tax credit that go along with the Inflation Reduction Act that's being sunset. All told, the $1.9 million after the incentives means that the actual net cost to the schools and the town is $718,000. Based on the amount of kilowatts generated per year, the payback is 5.9 years, which is very rapid. And so in a nutshell, in order to make these two pieces of work happen, we would have to talk to, certainly Tecton, owner's rep, Coloradoan, I know has originally spec'd out, some solar panels to determine how quickly can we make this happen, and can we include it in this energy performance contract that we're trying to complete. You can see overall, we're looking at $26 million of infrastructure improvements that after all the incentives would cost $15 million. Okay, but that includes the two fuel cells, which are quite expensive. So I just need to, see if there's a consensus, if the school building committee wants us to go down this path, and then if there's time to talk about it tonight, if there's some initial reaction from, Justin or anyone else on the team, can we get this done over the next couple of months? The timeline, Justin, if you could flip, there's a slide a little further down called timeline, because that's the last piece I want to present. So this is the path that we're on. We started the presentation to the town council, in July. We met with them last night. By the end of this week, tomorrow, Johnson Controls will submit a plan with finalized numbers to Energia, which is our owner's rep. And then we're looking to have a contract drafted to send to Jeff D'Onofrio for legal review on August 1st, and hopefully get council approval to execute the contract on August 12th. We are moving at light speed for a municipality. So I've got my fingers crossed that we can get some of this work done, because the incentives are significant that would be expiring. And I only talked about the Inflation Reduction Act. There's also incentives that are, through PURA and the utility providers that are also going to be expiring in October. So there's a few different things going on. Not my area of expertise necessarily, but I'm relying on Johnson Controls and an engineer to provide the expertise. So, yes.
Knowing that the earliest this installation could take place would be late summer, early fall of 2026, how does that tie into getting this reimbursement money from IRA and others?
Yeah. So the 5% of the project has to be completed, which could include just the purchase of the solar panels. That's the requirement in order to be able to take advantage of that investment tax credit. So it doesn't have to be fully completed. The project has to be started essentially prior to the deadline date for the expiration of the incentive. So that's where the nuance comes in, and we would rely on Johnson Controls to say, yes, this meets, the 5% requirement across these projects. So it's tricky,
I assume
but we're, at least having a discussion.
most of the work would go on during the summers.
Depends on, it
I know in
depends on.
schools you don't usually let people up on roofs installing things while kids are in the building.
Correct. Again, it depends on what work is being slated and when. But Johnson Controls, which would be the contractor doing the work, they represented that they believe they can meet the deadlines, get that 5% of work scope completed, which enables us to get those incentives.
Question for you. Do you know if, when they calculated out the payback, and, you know, you say it's roughly 6 years, just under 6 years, do you know if that, is that based on the system size and 100% output 24/7? Because that could be a bit misleading,
Yeah.
because under best case scenario, you're only at 50% utilization, because you're not producing at night. And even during the day, Craig probably knows what the numbers are, but you maybe 6 hours, maybe a day, is really what you're producing, so that would be a factor of 4 on top of that. I'm just curious if they already incorporated that, and that's just how aggressive it is with that, or if that's
So
a rough number.
here's the interesting thing. If Johnson Controls, you know, in their contract, they will specify that those are the savings we will achieve. And if we don't, they are guaranteeing that those savings are achieved. If not, they write us a check to make up for the difference in the utility costs.
So I can answer that question for you, Chris. They've calculated equivalent full load sun hours of about 1,270 or so hours over the entire year of what you have available based upon a 495 or 499 kW array, which is pretty much average for the state of Connecticut. So that value is based on how my calculator to figure out what they're using for a kilowatt hour rate, but if this is what they're proposing, that's what that's based on. So yeah, we all know the best solar production you get around here is May, your worst is January. And it's just basically how the system's gonna function, based on a big curve, how it goes. But that 1270 takes into consideration cloudy days and those kind of things. You can get 1,400 hours a year if you have a pretty good year, it depends. So that's a pretty conservative number.
Yeah, they're not going with 24/7, that's what
Oh, no, they're, if you gotta just divide
I just didn't see
the amount of kilowatt hour by the KW, they'll tell you the hours of production,
that.
okay?
Thanks.
Dennis?
Yeah, not worried about the new schools, but have they studied the structure of the existing schools?
It's work in progress, and they have to complete that, and Energia, our owner's rep, has to confirm that. The sections, and you can see there's some of the helioscopes, except for the 2 new schools are in there. They're only using the newer roof sections, for example, at the high school. But that is certainly a consideration that they are taking into account.
I will remind the people committee that Kohler Ronan did do some studies early on that showed that with solar panels, Norton could be energy neutral, and Barnum almost. It would require some addition on the ground in order to bring Barnum up. I know it was something that the town council had expressed interest in early on, and I think it was always a feeling that eventually we want to put solar panels on these buildings. Chuck?
So the solar panels that you're talking about for Barnum and Norton, that'll be rooftop stuff and do nothing else?
Yeah, so nothing ground-based.
And then, what is this column C, the state aid reimbursement, what is that called?
That is the school construction grant, like we're getting for the construction of these new schools, does apply to solar installations. We're using a 50% reimbursement rate because that is our reimbursement rate under renovation projects.
Gotcha. So that's still our reimbursement, right?
Yes,
So you'd have to apply to the state and then it's going to need approval.
yeah, on all of those projects, well, except for the fuel cells, which aren't eligible, but solar is. So that would be part of the work that gets done, you know, between Johnson Controls and Energia. And that's pretty standard when you're doing solar.
If you broke it out though, and did it on the project, wouldn't the Barnum would be at 65% or is it not reimbursed?
Yeah, if it were part of the new school construction, it may be, but we didn't include that in the original grant application,
I
so
think-
I don't know.
yeah.
That's a good question, John.
Maybe a good question for Rich and Jack. I mean, I think in general, OGA would be supportive of adding this to the project, but I just don't it would need to be a conversation and perhaps, well, if it's done within the original authorization, you know, the original budget, I think it's a little bit easier. If it needed to be a reauthorization to increase the project budgets to this, it becomes a little bit more complicated, but I don't know if you guys think.
So if we were to use like one of the contingencies to cover costs, then it wouldn't need to go back there, and we'd actually save that extra 50.
That is an important detail that we're gonna have to work through, because it may be, you know, better to take advantage of the 65% versus 50% reimbursement. And it'd be nice if we could keep the, you know, the tax credit as well, but, you know, again, as the devil's in the details here, I get this, I was just trying to present that we're going a million miles an hour if there's some consensus to, you know, allow some time to be spent by, you know, the design professionals to see if this is possible in the time frame that we're looking at. That's, you know, what that's the request of the committee tonight.
Any other questions? Or maybe it's a question for ONG. Would Johnson be able to be working along while the project's under construction, say when roofs are ready, or would they have to be waiting until your substantial completion?
No, typically we just need to get certification on the roof before they can go up there and start anything, so, but that could be done concurrently with our.
Well, I was thinking
Our
from
project,
Vince's point of view of timing,
Mhm.
it's easy to achieve 5% by getting a substantial amount of work done even before school opens,
Yeah.
in my mind.
Yeah.
If basically the time frame you have now, you're starting now, you'd have everything available, you can have this whole thing done before next August.
The 5% deadline is.
I like the way you think, Dan.
No, I'm just being practical, I had to ask the question because I wasn't sure about the logistics.
Is the 5% before it all gets sunset in October, or is it when the buildings?
I think 5% by December 31 is the deadline.
Of this year?
Yeah.
That's what it is?
Yeah, and again, the purchase of the panels may qualify partially for that.
So are we just looking for like a yes, go ahead, so you can come up with a sketch like that of where it goes on the new buildings?
I'm looking
And
for a
then
yes,
go-
go ahead, you know, take some time from the consultants to try and see this through and see if it's practical to do. Either way, we're gonna proceed with all the other components because, you know, it certainly does make sense, but, you know, clearly this is something, you know, the point was made earlier. We were planning on putting solar panels at some point.
Right.
This may
See
be an
much
easy
downside
way
for us.
to get it done and, you know, gain some additional credits.
Well, just keep in mind, the gear has the space to add the PV. What you're missing is all the infrastructure. The exterior disconnect, you may have conduits to the roof, but everything else. So the project has the ability to add them. And if JCI be doing a turnkey, it's really nothing to the project other than coordination on ONG's part.
And we do that all the time. We work with contractors outside of the, you know, owners, contractors on projects all the time, so that's something we can achieve easily.
And I'm not sure if the existing contractors that have been selected could do the work. Is that something like that the electrician typically does, or is a solar installer typically a separate?
They would pull separate permit to do this, to do this work.
Yeah, most electricians I work with, pretty much, they have the solar companies do a lot of work. Maybe they'll run conduit for them, but the solar companies do everything. They'll set the supports, the panels, do the whole 9 yards. Maybe you have a roofer coming in, do attachments if needed, it's not a balanced system. But there is some coordination though with other contractors.
Are you looking for a vote from this group?
Just a head nod. Because again, the work is gonna fall, you know, on the team here, ONG, and, you know, Tecton, Cole, Ronan, just to weigh in. And initially, I would set up a meeting with Johnson Controls and Energia to have a discussion. You know, the Johnson Controls has the building plans for both schools. That's what they based these estimates on. So the next step is really to pull together a meeting and see what the requirements from Johnson Controls are. Can we work this, you know, into what other important work is going on?
So when we come back at our August meeting, at that time, we would probably have some definitive plan?
Yeah, in terms of our work, and Craig, you can certainly correct me if I'm wrong, I think we need to understand from Johnson, like what they're responsible for, what support they would need from the design team to help facilitate their installation. As Craig mentioned, if it's a turnkey system, they may already have all the information that they need. But until we have that meeting, I can't. We're ready and able to help support Cheshire in this effort. We just don't know what that level of effort is. Like, for instance, we're finishing up a project in Madison, which we received the CO 2 weeks ago, and they're choosing to purchase the solar panels themselves and operate the whole system by themselves, not through vendor. And that is a different level of effort that they've asked us to do after the building's already been occupied. And that's something that Polaroid and Tecton are currently, well, we haven't done it yet, but they've asked us to.
So they're doing the same thing because they're in the same boat. They want to take advantage of the IRA money and they gotta get more. Same thing.
Anyone have any concerns?
My only concern.
Giving Vince a head, yes?
Like, looking, we'd be able to see kind of like what it would look like on the building, knowing that it's not gonna change the whole aesthetic of the building, because we put a solar panel right there. We spent all this time to do this and then put it at the last minute.
It would still be farming fields.
Farming fields are great, reflective sun.
But
I'm seriously thinking at the north
That's
end,
fair.
I mean, you look down
Yeah.
on the school pretty well, you see the whole roof there, so.
Well, you can tell, the committee should look, that we presented a PV layout way
Right.
back. So it's available in the records of what a potential layout could be for both schools.
I don't know if I could quickly put my fingers on it, but there was a report on that. And it showed the layout as to where they would.
Yeah, preliminary layout, yeah, so
Yeah.
what it is to get to the values that are basically in this chart.
Right.
Craig, you roughly remember what month that was?
No,
Roughly?
no, I don't,
It
sorry.
wasn't this month.
No, it was quite a while ago, yeah.
Quite some time ago.
Yeah.
But we should also keep in mind too, that, we did have this as a future plan all along with this group. So, and in 2027, when we're no longer a committee, Vince can come in and put whatever he wants on the roof, we don't have to say. So as far as that goes, there's only so much that we can really control.
Well, what I'll do is I'll look, if I can't find it, Craig, I'll give you a shout, and then we'll just circulate it to the committee members.
We definitely have it. I've looked at it recently. I'm pretty sure Norton, the roof has changed since that exercise was done. Like, we didn't have the gabled roofs over the classrooms, but,
I agree, we don't want to ugly up the building. So, some work can be done to change the size of the array, certainly. It would reduce how much output you get, but there is a balance to strike. Something is better than nothing now, and there's a lot of electricity that building is going to need that we're going to be paying for, so I'd rather do it through this performance contract if we can. All right?
Okay.
So, good to just proceed.
I think you've got a sense here. Go ahead and let's see what it looks like.
Thank you, appreciate the support. Justin will coordinate with you. Thanks, everyone.
All right, thanks, Vince. Okay. CM at Risk, monthly project report, North End, and then North.
Okay, construction is doing very well at the north end there. I put together a monthly report that is going to have to you, the big ticket items to look at is your summary data sheet, which is on the third page, it's page 2, number on the bottom. We are enabling work 90% complete. We did receive the final panel board submission after a lot of effort between Polaronin, appreciate your efforts, Tecton and ONG, and everything is on schedule to arrive in the timely manner that we need them to arrive. So we have that carried at 90% on this schedule here. Roughly, really 100%, all these items are purchased and released at this point. Building A completion at 5%. If anyone's seen that area, That steel has not gone up yet, or the majority of the steel for building A has not gone up yet. It has not impacted our schedule in any sort of way. We were well ahead of schedule with all of the other areas of steel, and unfortunately, the production could not keep up with the fast pace that the steel went up. So we are still on schedule for completing steel on time, and they're looking and hoping to have most of the steel, if not all the steel, completed by the end of next week, including the signing beam going up and doing a sort of little mini topping up ceremony that we do on every
I
job
saw a note on that
regardless.
today,
Yep,
yeah, we have to
So,
talk about that.
again, it doesn't need to be a big ceremony. We're gonna do it as we do it commemoratively for every building we put up. When we put the top of steel up, we'll do our own little thing. We don't need to, it's up to the committee and the town how much involvement you wanna have with that, so. To coordinate with Dave, I will be on vacation next week, but Dave Parasol, the project manager, is leading that charge in coordination of that. So I think you saw that email come out from him, I think, today, so. All right.
We'll talk.
Building B completion, we are at 12%, building C 15, building D area at 20%. If anyone's been out there recently, the green sheeting has gone on and the blue skin vigor area has started on that building. So really starting to pull together. The roof line is basically done with the exception of building A, so you're kind of really starting to see the form of what your building is gonna look like with that roof on it. And roofing has actually started, well, decking and whatnot of the roofing has started. So probably if you've been there recently, there is a ton of roofing insulation on the job. Pretty much every bit of roofing insulation we need is stockpiled on the job, so they are ready and itching to go.
I was there Monday and I sent pictures of them.
Good. All right, so moving on from percentage, site work is 25% complete. As you've seen that we've got curbing, the precast curbing installed, a significant amount of that, all the way out to Marion Drive at the, I guess you call that the northwest most entrance, the farthest corner and the highest point of the building, or of the property. But a significant amount of curbing has gone in, and they are actually looking to get paving, at least the binder course in this, in this September of this year. So get that moving forward. Vast majority of the underground is done. We actually have completed all our work with Connecticut Water, or sorry, not Connecticut Water, RWA, the Regional Water Authority. They've completed their portion of the work, so we are live with water on the property now. We are working with Eversource to get the temporary transformer. That check has been sent by O&G. You'll see a change order for that. It'll be an allowance billing, but we'll put together a change order for that. It was, I can't remember exactly, but $12,000 or $14,000. It's just their fee to provide and install the temporary transformer. So that'll get us power for the building. We've been running off generators, but we are looking to get that permanent temporary power, let's call it, in the very near future. Looking at our budget, baseline budget, we started with $68,630,850. We have potential revisions, and these are basically any bulletins that have come out, any RFI responses, things of that nature that we have identified as potential costs. Does not necessarily mean they will be costs, but potentials of $117,337. And the phase one credits are what has been the approved budget revisions at the north end. Looking at a
Ryan,
new,
does the 117 include the 83 from last?
so,
That's a total?
yes,
Okay.
correct, yes, yep. Yeah, that's the current, the column I'm working in is the current, so it's the original plus any additions, so. Yeah, $68,723,550 is our new current budget GMP if all those potentials were to hit the project and be approved. Awarded contracts, $66,309,654. Again, this just talks about the approved changes, budgets, things of that nature. And allowance funds available, so the $653,961 available, and still $1,706,455 in the O&G GMP contingency funds. The pages that follow here, I would recommend looking at them on the electronic version that you've received. What we have here is we have basically our monthly cost control report in the next 2 pages. Breaks down, basically anything that's been billed or added to any of the subcontractors' contracts as well as ours. The pages following that are a brief overview of all of the potential owner change orders that are potentially coming that equal that 117,000. And in addition to that, you have a in-scope change order log. That would be anything that we would consider a CM contingency billable. and/or allowances. And then there's the final couple of pages of numbers are all trade allowances and their status, so anything where these are trade allowances carried inside of their contracts. So they would never add to the GMP, the only chance is if we don't spend them, we give them back to the project. Following that, you're gonna have the PCOs under review. Right now, we only have number 7, PCO under review, that's the bulletin 10 changes, to the bleacher seat material, so that's in negotiations between, what the sub has proposed and some response by Tecton, so we're negotiating out with that. So this is to take the wooden seats and change them to plastic. Following that, you have a cost and schedule impact. Obviously, you see there's very little on here, but this is bulletins, RFIs, coordination schedule. Anything that comes out of those items that has a potential schedule or cost impact to the project will be captured here. The following one is a project commentary. This is just my projects team puts together their thoughts on things that have happened and been completed. It's a real rough overview of what you will see on the project. Some of the highlights here, obviously, installation of the underground fire main and domestic water is complete, and testing. Flushing is being finalized. Roadways and parking lot stone base installation is complete. Precast curbing installation has begun. So you can see there's just kind of a rundown of all the items that are happening that highlight the higher level and key items that they're talking about here. And then following that is just a bunch of pictures that have been taken throughout the month of June. So these are all June's pictures. As you can see, we are vastly different today than what these pictures are taken, obviously, because we are 4 weeks later than when these pictures are taken. But I highly encourage everybody to take a look at open space. You get a really good understanding of where we're at when you're utilizing open space. And if anyone has any issues, please reach out to me and we'll make sure that we get you through there. So, but overall, we're doing very well at the north end.
They went through just today on open space, so he's looking at, so we'll stay very up to date.
Yes, at least once a week right now. As we get into the building, we'll probably double that up and go twice a week for walks, just because more things will change faster inside the building. And we want to make sure we capture in walls well before we, right before we, as we're doing them, and then right before we sheetrock them, so we can have the latest and greatest for you, for you to look at now and in the future.
Comments or questions? Go ahead.
All right, jumping over to the Norton project, we're going to jump to the summary data sheet again. Here you can see there's slightly different percentages. These are based off of, the team's feeling in the field, as well as a review of the billables versus the schedule. So slightly different numbers, but not too far off. They have the enabling work at 100% complete. Again, we're in the same boat there. All of the submittals have been approved, released. All the equipment's in production, so we will have that switch gears scheduled to hit the job right towards the end of November for both projects, and panel board's a little bit behind that. Again, in here, we're talking, again, percentages, 11% for building A. They have all their steel up 100% there. Building B, 13%, 16% for building C, 19% for building D, and then with the completion of the summer work, substantial completion of the summer work through the parking lot, we were at 26% for the site work. So these have now, as you can see, I've had them revise these reports so that they match in kind of building areas, and so they're really similar to what you'll see on both reports. Baseline budget on this project, Norton, was $63,304,112. We have a potential budget revisions of $259,385. Understanding that a vast majority of that is a PCO I'm presenting tonight that this committee has previously tentatively approved pending approval by Eagle of the facility. That facility has been approved. This is the contaminated soil, which is a vast majority of that cost. And then the $9,039 in credit is all phase 1 credits that were previously approved. The big numbers to look at here, funds available allowances, we have $492,932 remaining O&G allowances, or project allowances, 1.6 million for 1.604107 million for CM funds available. Everything else is again very similar to what you've seen, what I just talked about. A little bit different. You'll see their report. Sorry, we go to their cost and schedule impact report is a little bit more robust, and we're working to get both reports to be a little bit more similar when you see them going forward. But they are, again, items, they have a lot of closed items that are on here that we have removed from other jobs, other projects. So But they have a good breakdown here of what is going on and what they're doing in their building. Obviously, Norton is slightly ahead of the north end, but both are on schedule or ahead of schedule. And then their project commentary, again, they're a little bit more detailed than the project commentary on North, and we will work on that to broaden up the North project for the future deliverables. And then just a bunch of pictures, again, a lot of these areas you can see they've dated when these pictures were taken. A lot of them were taken on 6/30. Most of them, I think, here. Again, highly encourage utilizing open space to get the most recent photos for the committee to look at.
Ryan, what's the latest status of the topsoil?
So all of the,
Well, they're digging in when I
Yep.
was there, but
so all of the non-contaminated, the clean, quote-unquote clean topsoil has been removed by Richards. A vast majority of the contaminated soil has left the site by Richards. There is some of that topsoil pile that's going to remain. It may get moved into another location because that soil is going to be reused. That's considered the polluted soil that will be reused on site. So out of the, again, we were at, I believe, between the two piles, almost 7,000 cubic yards. We did have 4,000 of it leave the site, 2,000 to Richards and 2,000 to included in the change order for the contaminated.
and I see the smaller hill that's in the north end, that's still there.
Yep,
Is that going to be used on site?
at some point, yes.
Okay.
Yep, that's a mixture of polluted and clean topsoil. So everything left, all the contaminated soil will be off the site. If it hasn't completed this week, they will be off the site by the end of next week, getting all the contaminated. And like I said, all the clean that is going to leave the site has left the site.
So we're not gonna see any additional costs?
Not any that I'm aware of or that we've been notified about, but no, the soils and everything that have gone to the facility, we have a direct quote from them, so there shouldn't be any additional cost from that.
I know we talked about possible change orders for, you know, different projects, and that's what I was trying to ask Ben was the fixtures in the bathrooms. I know we wanted to try and standardize those. Is that something that's?
So that is something I've been working diligently on. Unfortunately, the subcontractor has not been as attentive to it as I would like. I am working with them. They have promised to get us that quote in the very near future. So we are still working towards that. We are planning on that to basically be, you know, the plan moving forward. The contractor has kind of put himself in you know, a situation where the American standard that they wanted to use has already seen a price increase that they will now have to eat if they don't, you know, in a timely manner get us this, right, for the Sloan. They're still telling us it's, the order of magnitude is roughly about $20,000 to put to the Sloan at the Norton project. We are having Sloan provided by the plumber at the North End project. That's what he carried in his bid. So it's just the Norton project, and again, they've had a little bit of trouble with their vendor, summer breaks, things of that nature. So I do email them weekly about that, and they are.
I just wanted to make sure it's on the radar.
Absolutely.
Obviously it is.
Before you jump, do all the committee members know what that issue was all about? No, okay, maybe you could take a second.
Sorry, I thought we had talked about that here, in essence.
No, you and I have talked about it, I don't remember.
Okay. We use Sloan products across the district, and for us to be able to have those in, when you're only using, one building's using American Standard and every other building's using Sloan, it creates a little bit of an issue for us that we have to try and resource different parts for the district. And so we're hoping to make that flip to Sloan into one building in Norton, as Brian just articulated. So that's what we're trying to work through.
But it appears there will be a cost to that.
Yeah.
Come back to this committee for approval. So that's what that's all
And
about.
it may obviously be a $20,000 upfront cost, but it will save a lot of aggravation and potential cost down the road when we're able to purchase in volume and things like that. The other question I had was around the time frame. I saw that, you know, the projected time frames for site work and stuff. Given the decision that we made this evening about parking it the Y across the street, would that be updated in here, or is that, like, in terms of the site work timelines, does any of that change really, Brian, or no?
That's not gonna impact us. You know, one of the things that we are targeting a completion of all parking lot activities by the end of November. So I know there was some discussion about potential basketball and need for that. Well, our intention and the way we have it scheduled and what our subcontractors have agreed to. Now, I do have to caveat that with, we don't know what the abatement requirement is in there.
Sure.
So there's always a chance that the abatement could be much larger than Eagle expects. But provided we stick to what, the abatement is what Eagle has, investigated, we don't have any significant additional abatement, we will have that parking lot completed by the end of November. We have a, pretty hard deadline where they shut down the asphalt plants in early December.
Yeah, sure.
So you have to have the paving done before then. The only thing that is a potential, and the reason we carried additional time in the contract, is if we don't get all the plantings done between this fall and next fall, and there is, the abatement does push us out a little bit, we may come back for a month in the spring of '27 just to finish up the plantings.
Sure.
But the parking lots will be done by the end of November.
Thanks. And that was, kind of the last follow-up question I had was around the plantings and, in light of the fact that we're not gonna have to do a 10th lot on site, that I was hoping that would facilitate grass and everything that much quicker so that kids, by the spring, we're in real good shape for that.
So the intention is to plant that field in the spring of '26,
Okay.
so that you would be able to use that in the spring of 2027. Once we turn that over to you, you can use it whenever pretty much whenever you choose. The ideal is to give the grass a year, a full growing season, which is a full year,
Sure.
to fully establish its roots before you have heavy usage of it.
Yeah.
Again, our intention is to get that field installed in the early part of the spring of '26. If we get a good summer next year, not too hot, not too dry, you'll get a good amount of growth between them in the fall, and then you'll have to make your determination of how much you want to use that field in the fall.
As an alternative, what would sod do to that time frame, and then, like if they turf, sod, not astroturf, and, just curious around the timing and the cost or something like that.
But don't recall that I don't believe there's irrigation in that field, and that when you do sod without irrigation, that's a problem. You tend to lose a lot of your sod. You'd have to be really diligent about staying on top of watering that, on a regular basis. Sod is a little more,
Sure. Yeah.
Sensitive to big swings and heats and things like that, so.
Ben's got a killer sprinkler.
nearby, so
Now that-
I'd have to look in,
One of the ones.
and I don't know, Justin, if you know off the top of your head,
Water
the difference between the establishment timeframe for sod and seed.
We just did this in another district where the committee was in a fortunate position with their project contingency, that they were in the same situation where they would be planting this spring. There was a desire to have at least a play surface or the areas around the building to have sod rather than plantings in the effort when the kids start school, they would have an established lawn. I'll try and get that information, but it's not
But I-
without cost, obviously.
Having knowledge of, kind of what both you were talking about, in said district, they're pulling out, like, they're done, they installed it, but they don't have a sprinkler system either, they don't have irrigation there. And so now they're, trying to chase down the contractor to see, can we buy your sprinkler system off you and stuff like that, which is not exactly, easy to, and then what do you do with it after that? You sell it to Cheshire maybe,
Yeah.
for half the cost.
Is there a reason why is there no irrigation in the schools?
Not in the elementary, that's not, reimbursable.
Correct.
So, I think the committee at the outset of this project decided not to do that. And irrigation is really, pretty exceptionally rare. I don't know any elementary schools that have it.
The only time I remember even discussing it was the field at Barnum.
Right.
When the soccer people were asking about
Right.
making
And
multiple
lighting.
fields there, lighting.
Yeah, the whole 9 yards, making it more of
I don't remember even having a conversation about Oregon.
Right. Yeah. But I know we talked about irrigation, knew that wasn't reimbursable, so that wasn't really seriously considered, I don't think.
Typically, the only time we see it is when an elementary school installs sod, so.
And
they usually
does what?
When they install sod.
Okay.
So they go hand in hand, get a much better result with the money we pay for the sod if you have irrigation.
Right, but that seems like a long-term investment for a pretty short-term gain.
Regarding the parking, you created an allowance for the temporary parking lot,
Correct.
right? So that'll be coming back?
Correct.
Okay.
So it was actually, I think it was an alternate, but yes, I think it's an alternate that was accepted, and so if we don't spend it, we don't use it, we'll be returning it.
Yeah, it was,
Do you
yeah, a
recall
fair
how
amount
much
of
that
money.
was for?
Almost 50,000, I think.
Yeah,
47,000.
put down process and
Right.
pickup process and everything,
Yeah.
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 It was a fair amount of money. Relative to $8,000 or whatever we're spending now.
Yes, yeah, I think you're probably close to 40,000 in the plus column when you do look at the two
Right,
parking
yeah.
options.
It's a big number, yeah,
So,
cool.
Any other comments or questions? No? Okay. Architects? Justin?
Okay, I think the first thing you have on the agenda, Mr. Chair, is the revisions that we discussed at the last meeting. So I'm just gonna, for those that may not have been in attendance, just as a reminder, I figured I'd put these on the screen because when I handed them out at the last meeting, they were on 11/17, and even I couldn't read what was going on. So through the FF&E process, when we started to talk with, to get into room by rooms with some of the districts, there was a request to, a couple of things within the special education department was to provide a reading and math space or a literacy space as well as de-escalation space in both buildings. So what I have on the screen is North End, and in the bubble here, and my apologies if I'm gonna make people dizzy by kind of panning and zooming in and zooming out. We have our speech and intervention in an area off of the main hallway, outside of admin and nurse, near the professional development room. The request is to take some space out of the professional development room in order to get, now this is a blue beam markup, so this is not a technical drawing, okay? Get a reading and math office as well as a de-escalation space off of the corridor, which would involve adding, I tried to describe all of the work that's involved. Whenever we look at this, we're looking at adding some linear feet of wall base and paint, approximately add 2 doors, revise a location of the wet wall for the professional development. In other words, this wall right here is currently here. It would shift down. To my knowledge, it's the only rework that would need to be done. There's currently a drain stub that's there that would need to be moved within the slab. We need to add power and data receptacles to the RAM office, revise the lighting system in the professional development, add to RAM and de-escalation. It's an approximate addition of 2 fixtures and 2 light fixtures and controls to those spaces. Revise the HVAC chill beams and return air at professional development. Add 1 to the RAM office. We may need to add return air at de-escalation. Craig, I didn't know if this was something that we could simply undercut the door there. And also revise fire protection layout to accommodate the new space. It's a relocation of approximately 3 sprinkler heads. Touch a little bit of all of the building systems and a relatively modest change here. So that's North End. For Norton, I think when we spoke last, there were a couple of revisions, one in the intervention space. I just cross-hatched this out in my conversation with Jeff this morning. There's not a desire to include this RAM office in intervention. So it would be the same strategy within the the as-designed professional development space. We would effectively add a wall here that would allow us to get an LST space, that's literacy specialist.
Right,
Okay.
literacy support too. Yeah.
Literacy supports, sorry. And maintain the original 2 storage areas that we had, and add a de-escalation space off of the corridor. So very similar scope of work, little bit of a larger increase in the linear feet of wall, base and paint, 2 door frames, doors and hardware, power and data receptacles at the LST office, revision of the lighting, basically the same kind of gamut. The building systems basically need to be modified in order to, and supplemented in order to facilitate this. Now, I know ONG has looked at these revisions, because we don't necessarily have a technical, the next step, if the committee decides to move forward, is that we would need to update our floor plans, reflected ceiling plans, door schedules, finish schedules, interior elevations, as well as the mechanical, electrical, plumbing for north end, and fire protection drawings, in order to basically put a proposal request together to ONG to formally price. But what I think the district was looking for was a rough order of magnitude, and I know ONG, you guys have taken, you could get subcontractors to give you a hard number.
I didn't get a hard number, and I did misspeak when I spoke to you, so we did get some rough order of magnitudes from the subs, and that's where we generated kind of the numbers I gave you this morning. Is based off of their just kind of really brief look at throwing a number at the wall, right? So the numbers that I gave to Justin today, looking at probably in that $50,000 range, 50 to 75, depending again on the technical specs. It's really hard to tell, and then how much work has to be ripped out and redone. So the sooner the better for reducing the cost here, because there'll be less rework that has to be done, right? So it'll be, if we can catch it early enough, type of thing, we can reduce some of the costs. So
Is that per building?
per building, yes.
Right.
Justin, would you tell me what the square footage of the professional development rooms are?
500.
And what it would be?
Right now, they're 700, because Jeff asked me that this morning. 740 square feet as designed. It would go down to approximately 500 square feet. This is Norton, and I'm not sure what to. So we go from 812 square feet. I'm gonna give you a peek behind the curtain of how we can actually do this pretty quick. Dennis knows the tricks.
Hope you have your scale set right.
See what kind of number comes up with.
583 square feet for Barnum,
What's the width of that room?
which
Of the
within the
professional
north,
development?
Should be
Well, well.
30.
No, the other way.
26 feet.
$21 feet. Now, Dennis, I think you had actually, this is the same sketch that we had.
Yeah, no, I'm thinking if you leave the wet wall where it is
Mhm.
and move professional development where the speech and intervention are, you're not moving the wet wall, and move the other two down to professional development.
So you would effectively. let me go down here.
The other thing we could do is just flip on the professional development side and like leave the wet wall and take away from the other end.
I think what Dennis is suggesting is to do something like. I can't show you guys all my secrets here.
It's years of playing Tetris.
Just actually snip here. I think what Dennis is saying is put this like this.
Yep.
And treat this whole guy as professional development. Never more nervous than when everybody's watching this. And doing some sort of similar
Right.
that here. So that would allow us to not have to rework any of the underground drainage that's there. The only question would be, well,
How does that work? Doesn't that make your speech and intervention smaller?
Yeah,
A little bit.
which I would prefer not to do. I don't have a problem from taking away from the other room. So the other thought was, if we keep the wet wall where it is, to reduce cost, and put the de-escalation and other space on the bottom of the page, on the bottom of the room, like right there, you know, running it across the bottom there and just change the door entry on professional development space, yeah, like that.
How would you get into the professional development?
Right, we just need to tack a door in there.
Which we were gonna do anyway for the.
Storage right there then,
Sounds-
that's in the hallway.
That's
Those are
just a
lockers.
bench.
Oh,
With a
that's a
bench.
bench,
It's a mobile
actually,
bench,
it's a
it's-
seating
bench.
bench.
It's a bench.
Decorative savings if you reduce it.
Then would each of those rooms have their own entry from the
Yes.
main hallway?
Yeah,
what's on the south wall there, like, I'm calling it south, but the bottom wall in that hallway there, what is that? Is that just a wall?
I believe it's just.
I think it's just a wall and the
wall
graphic is on
just
the
a wall
opposite side.
Until we paint it, yeah.
Yeah.
one of the-
Yeah. So you could tack a door in
Yeah,
there and you'd be okay.
yeah. Yeah, we should probably just confirm that we don't have one of our,
I'm pretty sure the wall graphic was opposite the gym that runs the whole.
yeah,
And
I
then,
think,
because then you've got your display
yeah,
space.
we have a wall graphic that's along this wall here.
Yeah. Right. And that way we save all the cost of moving the, wet wall and still get the, I think, the resources we need for the other issue.
This is Barnum, right?
This is,
Yeah.
Barnum, yep.
Okay. So do we have the same issue over at Barnum?
We do not, there's
No.
no existing utilities that would have to move. The wet wall and the professional development stays in the same place.
So all that dramatically reduces the fiscal implications and provides the service support that our principals were looking for. And I think if we, you know, we were looking at this and yesterday, Vin and a few of our administrators had the opportunity to tour Neck School, River Neck River,
Neck River
Neck
Elementary
River
School.
Elementary, NRE, and Madison, which was also a Tecton design, and saw that they had the de-escalation space in there too. You may have heard in the news about like padded rooms and stuff. That's not what this is. This is for kids that are just dysregulated, excuse me, and need to a place to go with an adult to kind of, you know, capture themselves. You know, it's kind of like a take a break space, tier 2 level, outside the classroom. And we found the need for that has grown, you know, in the last several years. And we've been kind of trying to catch space where we can in existing buildings, and saw the opportunity here. And then, you know, I think that just got reinforced yesterday when we saw it in Madison, that they had carved out that space too. And it's like, I think it was validating to know that we were on the right track, but, you know, talking to Justin this morning, how do we make that happen in minimal fiscal impact and functional impact?
What's inside of that
Seems
room?
to make sense. In the de-escalation furniture.
That's it?
That's it.
Yeah,
So it's an adult and a child?
Yeah, and so the one at Madison was actually added in during construction. We used,
Oh.
it was actually a office space that they repurposed as de-escalation space. The change that we made is that we shifted to what's called a constant supervision lock set, which you're probably familiar with. It's a latch that stays in the retracted position when the door is closed. And if a faculty member needs to, I don't wanna say barricade a student in, but allow a student the space in the room while making sure they don't get out, they can stand at the door and activate either the paddle or the lever, and what that does is put the latch into the strike. So the door effectively stays in a locked position as long as somebody is standing there holding the lock set. So as soon as, Now, we haven't even
Yeah,
done
we
that.
have programming for that in another building,
Yeah.
so, I mean,
Yeah.
it would probably not be the case here, but,
Yeah.
I mean, because we employ a practice to de-escalate kids in other buildings now without that.
Mhm.
I wouldn't foresee that here.
Yeah.
And because we do have that for, students who may need that support in another building, so.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I don't know what Madison did, I didn't realize that they did that, but,
Yeah, and we've done, it's not the case here, but we have done rooms that have wall padding, and I'm thinking the New London, the Learn Student Support Services building in New London, where 100% of their students are ASD, behavioral.
yeah, because, I mean, we, a lot of us are parents, and we've seen 8-year-olds throw tantrums, and, and sometimes they do hit things, and students that have sensory issues and stuff, that's the greater likelihood that they will do something like that, and to protect them and everything else. We've had locations in the district where there's padding and stuff on walls. That's not necessarily what this was intended for, but, that certainly exists. Certainly, I guess, Madison, Learn, Cheshire too, so. But for us, and I think our team, we felt pretty strongly about trying to accommodate this where we could. The space in the professional development room, that was never intended for all faculty. It's never utilized for all faculty in any of our district spaces. If we're getting the faculty together on that sort of scale, we're doing it in the CAF, we're doing it in the library, something like that, where there's certainly much more space.
They're comfortable with the new size of the professional development?
Yeah, I mean, that's roughly the same size of the one that we were in Madison yesterday, and they have 640 kids in that building, so, and one of the rooms is a little bit bigger, and one was a little bit smaller than the one in Madison. So, we feel pretty comfortable with it.
Can you show what the space looks like right now?
So right now, there's a storage off of this corridor, there's a storage off of the professional development, and then there's the overall professional development space. The conversation, in order to get this as an office space, we would end up having 2 storage spaces off of professional development. And I think the desire was to keep those separate rather than one large storage space in order to, help facilitate, the different types of storage.
Right. Yeah, we wanted to, I mean, this obviously to a degree enhances storage and or office space. I think one of the things that we've experienced over years is the ability to be flexible, and with room space, with storage space, with all sorts of things. So we wanted to try and retain that to the greatest extent possible and still provide this resource for our teaching admin team.
So that literary room that you're adding in here, where does that need come from that we didn't have before?
There is an expansion of those services. When we looked at the size of the building, and I don't know that day one we will need that. I wouldn't necessarily say that, Chuck. I think we anticipate that might grow and need it, and if we don't, there is always a demand for storage space, always. I think we want to try and keep the literacy support staff all together to the greatest extent possible. But, when we have a situation like we do at Highland right now, where we have interventionists working in hallways with signs that say, please be quiet in this hallway because I'm trying to teach a child to read, that's not a good situation. So it provides us, like I said, the flexibility to be able to pivot in the event we need it. We do know we need the de-escalation space though. So I know that'll be utilized day one. Whether it's storage or intervention support, I also know that the other space will be utilized day one. And I think our teachers would agree too, like having that space is essential relative to a much bigger professional development space. I think the other thing that was evident when we went through the school yesterday, and these are preferences in design or whatever, and not to take anything away from what they did in their design, we have more small area teacher workspaces that are closer to where they will be on a regular basis. So they're connected with their peers next door. They're not necessarily going to a faculty room to be able to do that. And so we felt particularly good about the space, knowing that our people had their little workspaces closer to home and probably won't be utilizing that space to the same extent. Nevertheless, it's still roughly the same size as the one in Madison anyway. So we looked at these things from a lot of different angles, you know, to make sure that we were gonna feel best about meeting our student needs and our staff needs. And it was a focus point of our tour yesterday, among many other things, but so we came away feeling like with conviction that I needed to reach out to Justin this morning and have this conversation just to see what we could do. And I appreciate the thought about flipping the space so we're not creating, I mean, $100,000 I think is still reasonable, but I would hate to cough up $100,000 if we don't have to. And you know, this obviously would significantly reduce that impact by not moving the wet wall.
Other comments or questions?
When you do the HVAC system for the redesign, design them for office space, because they will be that in 5 years.
The storage spaces?
Yeah.
It'll be the most comfortable storage space in the district for the first 3 years, and then it'll be an office.
It was just
Or
an
intervention
office,
space
it was
or something.
storage space 5 years ago, and it was stifling in there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
built the school, multiple storage spaces, they're all small group instruction spaces.
Nobody ever complains of having too much storage, but I don't know that, you know, like I said, because that evaporates in time, it turns in, it morphs into different needs.
So we need a motion to approve the, moving forward on this and directing the architects to do the design. We would still need to, when we get pricing and everything, to approve the actual construction.
Do we need a proposal first?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We
From
just,
Tecton,
what's that?
from Tecton.
Need to
For,
attach some sort of cost for what you're.
Yeah, a proposal to get the,
Right. The plan stone.
yeah.
yeah,
So, I am not prepared to have an additional service request, but I've validated with Kohler Roman and looked at the hourly rates. I think it's, or not hourly rates, the work that's going to be required, I think it would be approximately $7,500 per school to conduct the design and get the proposal request out. So I can validate that in a subsequent ad service. We've submitted ad services before here.
Appreciate that.
if we're gonna move ahead though, we don't wanna waste too much time.
No, I totally agree. It just,
Yeah,
don't know if we're talking about a bread box or a bread box.
yeah, so if you wanted to put a
You
do
want-
not exceed amount on there or whatever, but we need a motion of some
Yeah.
sort.
Chris, you made the motion?
I'll make a motion to go forward with however wording has to be. I'd like to, for the design team to put together the revised plans to submit for proposal from the construction.
Second.
Any discussion on that?
I just want to say that I think it's a no-brainer. We're building the school for him, and he's saying that these changes are, A, necessary, and the discussion of concerns that we had last meeting about, is the room big enough and whatnot, he's saying it will meet all the functional requirements. As far as I'm concerned, we're building the school for him, so. if he needs
Thanks,
this-
but I mean, this is not Jeff's opinion, right? Like I said, we had a team of administrators, and I totally appreciate where you're going, but I.
You are representing the
Yeah,
school
absolutely
district,
right.
and that's what I'm saying,
Yeah,
so
that's
it's.
fair. That's fair.
I have a motion and a second, any other discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? And it's unanimous. Thanks. So, will we have a proposal on the table come August? I'm
So
assuming
it's
we wanna
prob-
move on this pretty quickly.
I mean, we could probably turn around the bulletin, you know, by the end of next week. So we'll just have to see the attention from the subcontractor. I'm looking at Laurel and Craig, I don't know.
We'll make it priority number one as soon as we
Yeah,
get
that's
the
what I did.
bulletin from Tecton. We'll make it priority number one, and we will scramble to get that pricing put together as fast as possible,
Yeah.
with the intention of bringing that to this committee at the
I
end of
just
August.
don't wanna see us putting up walls to rip walls down.
I would agree.
Well, obviously, you guys are gonna agree with it. This
I
is
think if
something
we have the
to
drawings
keep
in
looking
hand,
at.
we can selectively leave certain sections out. The bigger, you know, obviously, walls are less concerned to me, it's the ductwork and the roughing that we're gonna be doing, you know, again, a couple of walls, you know, leaving those out to make sure we don't, you know, put in work that has to come out, we can make that happen pretty easily, so. We just wanna, yeah, again, Tecton will do their best to get it to us as fast as possible, and we'll turn it around as fast as we can, so.
Okay.
I will make sure that my guys know this is a priority, and if we have to go to subcontractors' houses to wake them up in the middle of the night to get it, we'll do that.
Appreciate it.
Well, hopefully, we're not gonna have too many plan changes as we go forward. FF&E meeting, anything new there?
So I did include our most recent meeting for FF&E. This was a focus on pre-kindergarten. So this was specifically at Barnum, and this was held on July 9th. And I think at this point, we are gonna go through a period to put our heads down to develop plans and budgets for the 1st of September. But otherwise, then I don't know if you have any additional feedback from the groups. We've had a lot of engagement by the faculty that have attended these meetings. We intend, I think I have something that's still in a draft message for us to have our technology meeting so that we can have operate on the same timeframe. But really, the next 6 weeks for us is to develop the documentation, the schedules, and the budgets. Nicole in our office, who, by the way, I don't think any of you have met, but everybody in the district has, she is really great at kind of herding the cats, so to speak, for the focus on furniture selection. So she's already contacted vendors to start getting their pricing. Also has gone through the new procurement requirements for state contract purchases. It's slightly changed in terms of what's available out there for state contracts. So she's already contacted the vendors to start getting pricing so that we can get quantities, et cetera.
Ben, have you gotten feedback on the chairs? I know you have.
So, we have 4 chairs and a student desk on display in the school district operations office. We let the working group members know, and I sent a reminder recently that stop into central office and take a look with a QR code scan. They can leave some feedback. We've had 3 visits so far. It is summer, working group of primarily teachers, so I did put a reminder out to our administrators to stop by. I did talk to Nicole, who asked the vendor if they can extend leaving that furniture there through the end of August, so that there's some more time to get feedback. But, I'll just echo, what Justin just said, that Nicole's been excellent through, the working group, very responsive to emails. There's been a lot of input, which I'm very, very happy about, from the teachers and the administrators, not only pre-K, K, 6th grade, special ed. So I'm confident when we're done with this, everyone will have had a chance to provide input. I'm not expecting there won't be some disappointment when people walk into the school for the first time, but I think overall the process has been well. And, we did see at Neck River, I believe, some of the same furniture that's
Yep.
been, identified for the school district in Cheshire Both Schools, which is quite magnificent, so. we'll,
Did you help punch list while you were there? Because that's something that we need to finish. Yeah,
I do
think
have
they
some
just
notes that I
wrapped up.
was gonna call
Yeah.
Nicole. I took some pictures and I had some questions, but
Okay.
I'll get to.
Good, good.
Any other comments? None?
Okay, so in your packet, since we've been meeting, the last several meetings, we've met once a month. The construction administration reports basically, we're compiling these on a bi-weekly basis, ostensibly to align with a two NGSBC meeting scheduled. So the last couple ones, your packets have had the last two construction administration reports. So starting with, what do we have on the agenda? Barnum. Just as a broad summary of the CA activities, though the July 14th report says past 14 days, 9 construction RFIs, that total is 21 since the last time that we met, for a total of 108. And this number differs slightly from the ones that ONG gave previously, mainly because I think your report goes for the end of June.
Yes.
We're kind of aligning these to the Friday before the current NGSBC meeting. Submittals, we've received in the last month 102 submittals for a total of 546. So that really kind of tells the story of where we're at in construction. 100 plus submittals in a month is, we're getting a high volume of subcontractors submitting all of the product data, shop drawings, etc. No PCOs for Barnum in the last 14 days. We list our number of meetings, which at this point are consisting of our bi-weekly OAC meetings in the field, weekly BIM coordination meetings, pre-installation meetings where subcontractors, ONG holds meetings so that the design team, the subcontractor, the construction manager are all around the table understanding, what the requirements are when these subcontractors show up on site. We also include our site visits as part of the CA report. These field reports first get submitted to ONG, so if there are anything that is critical in terms of needing to relate to subcontractors or any deficiencies, observations that they need to pay attention to, those get there, but we include them as part of this report. For the Norton School, the last month, we received 18 construction RFIs for a total of 124. We received 105 submittals for a total of 584, which again tells a story about the same submittal load and RFI load as North End. There have been 2 PCOs that have submitted in the last 14 days, one of which is for discussion this evening. Again, bi-weekly OAC meetings, weekly virtual BIM coordination meetings, as well as on-site meetings. And for this, we've also included site visit or field reports from Fuller Rowan, Tecton, and Michael Horton Associates. At this point, I'm happy to answer any questions that anybody has about the ongoing activities in the field, or any specific questions to our workflow.
Justin, those civil visits, are they pretty much cruise control? So there's-
They were actually on site this week, they
Yeah.
just didn't have time to turn the report around.
Yeah. Yes, they were on site this week.
It's interesting to see the Coloradoan kind of the corrections or the areas of concern. Those always get, is that through you guys, through ONG, like who does?
Coloradoan sends the notification to ONG, and ONG works with the subcontractors to address any concerns that have been raised by Coloradoan, Michael Horton, Benesh when they do their site visit or Tecton.
Okay, cool.
So once they write the report, it's in our hands to resolve it, and then at their next visit, they
They
will.
double check it,
Yeah.
yeah,
And
okay.
if we're in a situation where maybe something they, Craig or his team might have identified in wall issue, and we're looking to, close up that wall, we'll communicate with them ahead of time, either through pictures to show that we've corrected the issue, or if they're able to come out and physically,
Public
review.
cam or in person or whatever. Yeah.
We'd like to do it, we'll definitely do it with the open space, but we would, if we were providing them with documentation, we would take physical pictures, iPhone pictures, and then send those to them directly.
I appreciate it, I just wasn't, I'm not
Yep.
familiar with the process, I appreciate it.
And usually, I mean, the rule is, you know, if you see something, say something, you know, when we're in the field, if there's
You're
something
to
that
catch it
comes up,
early.
we grab the superintendents, the PMs in the field, just to reassure Chris, every OAC meeting that we're conducting, we have a representative from every consultant that's on the call. So that includes the civil, Vinesh, Colarone, Michael Horton, and TechCom. So those of you that may have had the pleasure of attending some of our OAC meetings in the field can hopefully attest to it.
Yeah, that was one question, the actual field inspection. If maybe they were at a point where it needed to be fewer and farther return.
No, but there I'll just go back and check the ones that we had previously from the last report. And we'll make sure to chase Nancy to make sure that we get her report from this week.
They've been averaging once a month.
So it's just curious, I'm not trying to create.
I get it.
Any other comments or questions? Thank you, Justin. Moving right along. By the way, I found the report that we were talking about from the solar panels. I'll send that out there. Zach, budget update.
All right, so I'll start with North End. You guys should have the budgets in front of you. Just overall, we're 17.43% through the overall budget. Just in comparison to ONG's construction billing, they're at 23.2%. And then the owner contingency, from what we started with all the items that were transferred out for PO increases, etc., we're 17.29%, with the remaining in there at 5.39 million. If there's any questions about North End's budget report, I'm happy to answer. Emily noted that there's only one item you guys might be wondering why the 24,000 and change is in the uncommitted balance on the construction manager line item. That was AIA change order number 1. Rather than put it back into the owner contingency, we left it there as a little bit of a bank for any future potential change orders that were there. We're not just making transfers in and out of that owner contingency. And if there's something that Rich usually presents, let me know. I'm happy to try to present it.
Have we verified the 65% reimbursement for the whole building?
That is a great question. I'll follow up with Emily and Jackie.
We did get an email, if I can just, we got an email from Emily Fuentes, who confirmed she spoke to Michelle Dixon,
Yeah.
that the 65% is the reimbursement rate for Bonham.
For the full building?
Yes.
Thank you.
Because I leave one center in Norton, the other 15%.
We probably could have done that. Early learning center in both buildings. Gotten a little bit late for that now. Okay, go ahead.
Is it up?
All that for the Cheshire High School and Early Learning Center Academy. Coming in again.
Yeah.
Right.
There are high schools that do that. High school kids work with the little ones.
Like in Cheshire, we do have that in Cheshire.
Big check.
can I just add something here? When we were at Neck River Elementary, which is Madison, their day, you know, we were talking about reimbursement rates, and they have 4 pre-K rooms, I think, in that building. The reimbursement rate is 15%. So, gotta feel good about where we are. 15% was the add-on that we got.
Right.
So, just saying.
I don't know how it's so low, but I'm gonna not say
They
anything.
also spend $3,000 more per student than we do on a budgeting basis. So.
Okay, sir.
All right, moving on to Norton. So overall, we're 17.77% through the overall budget. In comparison to O&G's construction billing, they're at 21.5%. Current owner contingency burn is at 24.46%, leaving just over 4,082,000 left in the owner contingency. And then similar comment for the uncommitted balance, it was the AIA credit amount on the construction manager line item. Any questions on the budgets?
Well,
I couldn't match up any one of those percentages he mentioned. I couldn't find any of mine. I don't know if I'm looking at a different sheet or what.
All right, so the grand total, the total percentage that we burned through so far is the bottom right hand.
Yeah, I found that one. I found, I did find one.
So
And I couldn't
so
find
the-
any other one you mentioned.
The other ones, one of them's calculated on my part. I just give you the owner contingency burn rate, so it's just the amount of money we burned out of the owner contingency from the start till now. So I calculate that one myself. It's actually not on here. It's a calculation of the numbers on the second page. And then the 21.5%, when you get to O&G's invoice, it's the bottom percentage that they billed total so far, so.
Okay, so
They're
I'm just not
they're a little
challenged, that they really weren't here.
They were, only one of them was here, yeah. I think those are some of the 3 most important numbers, to be honest with you. There's a lot of numbers on this paper, but, you know, I think those are the 3 that are most helpful to understand.
I'm not disagreeing, I just couldn't, I was trying to follow where you were going. I got paper lock.
Okay, invoice approvals. Invoices for Norton School, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have, first one is environmental services for Eagle Environmental, $487.50. Invoice number 24045. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
So moved. Chris.
Second.
Second. Let me make a note. Any discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous. Invoice number 24113, once again, environmental services for Eagle Environmental, $600.
So moved.
So moved. Second. Makes life easier for you guys.
Yeah, that's fine. You can really do that for the rest of them.
Okay, that's fine with me. Any discussion? All those in favor? Okay, unanimous. Invoice number 36045519 to owner representative Arcadis, $11,118.77.
So moved.
So moved. Second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous. Construction manager, O&G, payment number 11, $2,670,039.95. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Chris, second, Dennis. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor? And it's unanimous. Tech Town Architects, invoice number 48338, architectural services, $60,716.
Is it in the package?
This is, yeah.
Yeah.
What's
I
that?
don't think it's here.
Yeah,
That's not there.
The invoice for Tecton.
We can approve.
I think I have it.
We
in
don't
wanna get
original,
paid.
hold on.
Pro bono this one. Right.
I move for pro
This
bono.
This is the original.
I think it's actually in your packet after the Arcadis invoice and before the AIA document. It looks like.
Oh, yeah, here it is.
When it was printed on letterhead is not.
Let's see.
it's right.
This one here that has the yellow column.
Yep, and it just says,
Oh, yeah.
it says
Chris,
schematic design
oh,
at the
it's
top.
that one, yep, yep, what Chuck has.
One second, take a look at it.
I guess we
Right,
have
right
to.
before our,
Right.
Sorry, Dennis.
Oh, that.
just that page. But that one, that's it, yeah.
Yeah, it's got no, letter.
Yeah, there's nothing on it.
So moved. So moved. Second? Yep. Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous. Okay. North End, Barnum Elementary. Invoice number 13047, testing services, Testcon Incorporated, $6,948. Have a motion?
Sure.
Oh, we're gonna go backwards this time? Okay.
I'll second.
And then Chris, you're gonna say.
Keep it reserves.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Unanimous. Invoice number 13061, revision 2, from Testcon Incorporated, $22,241. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve.
Dennis, second?
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor?
Justin, how are the tests coming back?
We're good.
Good.
Yeah, I mean, our breaks are as expected. I don't believe we've had any real deviations. that
No
we've
28-day
seen.
breaks that did not meet, strength.
Okay, third one, invoice number 13107, testing services, Testcon Incorporated, $9,081. Have a motion? Dennis, second, Chris? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Unanimous. Invoice number 25066, MP Planning for $5,298.75. We have a motion? Dennis, second?
What's it for?
Make the motion, then we'll talk about it. Okay. So here we go. Okay, can we, could you walk us through what that is?
Vin?
I was wondering who was gonna question it, so
Interesting,
So this is for the enrollment and redistricting study. MP Planning is the firm that was selected. Our contract with them calls for monthly payment based on work completed. Their invoices included. And I will just tell you that Mike Zuba, who's the principal, has been working on his end of the enrollment study. We provided him a whole bunch of district data. He's been in touch with Mike Liddon from the town and Andrew Martelli to get the information he needs on potential new developments that would be incorporated into the enrollment study. So that's what that invoice is. And it is about just over $35,000 contract. So he's billing pretty much evenly over the next several months.
Can I just make one suggestion,
Yeah.
not that it affects the vote? Can he put the total amount of the contract and the percentage complete?
Sure. I'll ask him to do that.
So he's 3 months in now, right? When do we get an update on where the numbers are at? 'cause the whole idea was it was affecting whether we needed to expand the schools, and we need to know that as soon as possible. And I think when we talked about it, we said 90 days he should have it.
I'll try and get an update for the next month's meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Ian.
Other comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Unanimous.
Chuck, just to that point, I know we've been engaging with him on different questions he's had, since we're working on it, we'd like to know through the progress, where we at there.
I mean, we're just talking about changes earlier, just a
Well, I
wet
remember
wall. I
when,
mean,
yeah,
this
when
is
Jeff
gonna
was
be
first talking
this is
about
a
that
waiver that
contract.
we may have to add if
Yeah.
numbers come up. It's not just a couple thousand bucks.
Major, yeah.
Invoice number 360-45283, owner's representative services for Arcadis, $14,026.81. Have a motion, Dennis, second? Chris? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Payment number 11, construction manager, O&G, $3,222,523.04. Motion, Dennis? Second? Chris? Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? It's unanimous. Architectural services, invoice 48337, Tecton Architects, $71,151. Motion, Dennis, second, Chris. Any discussion? All those in favor? And it's unanimous. Okay. Have we received payments from the state yet?
I'm unsure, I will follow up with, I know Emily's and I'll follow up.
I know that was a major concern recently.
Yeah, I believe we have, I believe there was some sort of.
I talked to Rich Sitnick about it a
Yeah.
few weeks back. But
I wanna say we may not have received funds, but we have definitely submitted for the reimbursement requests, so.
I know the town is anxious to start receiving some money. Okay. Actions, recommendations on change orders.
Alright, so we'll start off with PCO 7, R1. This was for Bolton 5, and these are all for Norton schools. There are no change orders on the table tonight for the North End Barnum School. This is for some Area 2D finishes. Some of these items were identified in a scope review, if I'm correct, and the O&G carried an allowance to cover these costs. The allowance was carried for, I wanna say, $37,000.
Let me jump in here.
Yeah.
So, the background on this is during scope reviews, the drawings had elevation views inside the building that showed the one side of the hallway's walls, that they were supposed to be mirrored on the other side. The subcontractors there wasn't a separate elevation for the other side of the hallway. The contractors did not take that as a mirror to the other side of the hallway, so they didn't carry any wall protection, or other items. We had these further discussions, we knew there was gonna be a cost, we talked with the subcontractors ahead of time. We did carry as part of one of the allowances $37,000 to cover this cost, in that allowance. That wasn't the be all end all of that allowance, there was other items in that allowance. So this is not a, situation where we would credit back the $4,000 at this time. That money just stays in the allowance until we're at the end of the job and we've determined that no more monies will be coming out of that allowance. Whatever's left will go back in. But these were anticipated costs, it was carried in the GMP, we carried an allowance for it. And again, it was just kind of a misunderstanding from the subcontractors, the way they read the drawings. So they did not carry costs for this in their bids, so you're not paying for it twice.
Okay. Have these been reviewed with you guys?
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, this does not change the GMP.
Okay. So do we have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
And a
I'll
second?
second, I'll check the Chuck's more.
Or Chuck, okay. This is coming out the CM allowance, and so any discussion? All those in favor? And opposed? Unanimous.
Next, we have PCO 12, which is for the contaminated topsoil removal. As Ryan mentioned earlier, this cost was tentatively approved by this committee, so this is just the formal cost to take the $241,140 out of the CM allowance. Same thing, no change to the GMP.
Yeah, if you recall at the time when we presented this originally, this was, we were kind of in a crunch, we needed to get moving. The facility was still being vetted out by Eagle, and the discussion was if that facility was not appropriate, that there could be a potential increase to cost to go to another facility. Fortunately, that did not happen. The facility in West Hartford was deemed by Eagle and also by the facilities providing documentation to meet the standards we needed to be able to dispose of this soil there. So there will be no increase in cost off of this number here. So this is the formal final approval of this, that, you know, again, I don't know if this committee needs to actually vote on it, but we brought it to you because previously we told you we would return once we knew for sure.
Okay, we have a motion, and this is gonna also review this? Okay. A motion?
Motion to approve.
Dennis? Chuck? Seconded? Any discussion? All those in favor? And it's unanimous.
All right, next and final for tonight, we have PCO 13. This is for additional speaker strobes. It's comes as a result of some responses on the submittal that came back before Ronan. It's a total add of 5. The contractor, ONG, had them include a unit price at bid, so this is a unit price per their bid. And it's a total of $7,725 coming out of the owner contingency.
And Chuck, you and Dennis have gone over this? Okay.
So again, it's like strobes that should have been on there, but they were missed. So we would have paid for them if they were on there.
Good.
Change.
All right, good. Then do we have a motion?
Sure.
Dennis? Second, Chuck? Any discussion? All those in favor? And unanimous.
Sorry, we have a percentage.
I've run out of paper. I have my file there. I've gone through everything, I've nothing left. Any other comments or questions or discussion of topics? If not, then I'll take a motion to adjourn. So moved. Second?
Second.
Everybody wants to know.
Any discussion?
All those in favor?
We were able to
Oh, yeah.
keep them up.